Surprised by the state of social discourse? Remember, kids must go to school to learn to socialize. You get what you indoctrinate. So this thought is just based off of what I've been seeing in society, specifically the United States of America. And right now with the current pandemic, there has been an increase of people being back at home. People are talking about, oh, should we reopen the schools? And there's many things from both sides, some people making some really decent points that are unfortunate, but I can't really find too much argumentation against, where people are saying, oh, some of the kids who are being abused at home are only found to be abused at home, like by them being actually noticed by schools. But then also there's a high level of abuse going on in schools as well that sometimes is not found. So sometimes there are some people who now are finding that, hey, my kid is back at home. Wait, they've been learning what? They've been doing what? Like there's some kids who were being abused by teachers or by other students in school that are now at home, and then they're not getting that kind of abuse. And now the parents are actually spending more time with the actual kids also, and they might be able to notice. So there's an inverse, something like that is just an example where it's like, it's a point. There's being points made that are positive that I can actually argue and debate on both sides of keep schools open, keep schools closed. I've talked about before how there's indoctrination, and this is something with this thought. There's indoctrination that goes on in schools. And this is something that's known. This is part of why people on the political right, especially the Christian conservative right, understand the actual nefarious effect of the schools that have actually occurred. Some schools are kind of like, we don't really like having this situation where we're teaching and parents can actually listen in to what's actually being taught and said. I'm sure some people will object to that. Then there's the whole situations of, why should you charge the same amount? I think Harvard is still charging the same amount per student, even though they're saying they're not going to reopen. But then, what's going on? Parents are like, wait, part of what we pay is for the social environment? Some people just outright say, places like Harvard, it's not necessarily about the actual content. It's more about going out there and socializing and meeting other people that you might marry or you might get into business kind of organizations with and associate with other people and get in some fraternity and then or some sorority or some kind of thing where you're connecting. You're networking. You're socializing. And that is one thing that is a key thing that has been repeated over and over again, especially when people are talking about are against things like homeschooling and other forms of schooling, are talking about how will kids learn to socialize? Unless you actually have kids in an environment where they're in these public schooling, these compulsory public schooling environments, you're not going to be able to actually socialize. But then I would think, how much of actual real life is like high school life? How much of real life is that tailored where it's like you're only going to be in certain classrooms, certain locations with these groups of people that are in this limited place, in your limited age group, learning these things that you don't even decide to actually choose to learn. These are the things somebody else has chosen and said you have to be spending time in these locations. Then in how many of those classes, while you're in those classes, the majority of the time you're in school is spent in classes, is spent in classrooms, and you're not really allowed to socialize in that time. It's not like you're allowed to just be bantering with people. It's like, no, you have to follow this authority. You have to follow these people who are telling you what to do, when to do it, how to learn it, how to read it, how to write it, and things like that. How much actual restriction is there to actual socialization? And then you look at the rest of the world and it's like, wait, actually there is a lot of this. And I had this experience of looking at my high school experience, my educational experience, and it was a rather exceptional school. The one thing that I have realized, but I looked at certain TV shows. Like there was this one show in particular, Popular. It was a really old show. But it was like Leslie Bibb and I want to say like Shannon Sampson. Let me double check. Okay, I checked. It's Carly Pope. I get her confused with Shannon Sampson. Had major crushes on both of them. But Carly Pope is more like a mix of Morena Baccarin and Numi Rapace. Morena Baccarin was the actress who was in Firefly. She was the courtesan with her amazing neck, which is, again, I've mentioned before, it's a weird feature that I'm attracted to for some weird reasons. I want to actually go in and actually see what is the epigenetic or possible reasons necks might be found attractive by certain people. But anyway, so she was also in Deadpool and in the remake on the update of Visitors V. And anyway, Numi Rapace was originally, I think I first saw her when she was in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. She's also done, what's it called? She was in the Aliens movies. She's in a few movies. She got into like the Hollywood situation. But anyway, Carly Pope looks like a mix of the two of them with like some Shannon Sampson thrown in there. But anyway, so that show, I was like, that is a lot like my high school environment. But that was, how good was I actually at understanding my high school environment? But then I started looking at the rest of the world. And in general, I'm being like, Does high school prepare people for the world, for socializing in the world? I'm not talking about the actual jobs. I do understand the system itself is a Prussian system and it's made for widgets. It's not made for critical thinking. But then the critical thinking itself in the actual outside of the actual job scene, because you see people who are able to actually be proficient enough at their actual occupation, because some of these occupations are not necessarily so high level, like taking a lot of things. You can just go through the actual plan. You can actually go through the actual steps and still achieve the results at the end of the day of something. If you go somewhere, you have to add this number to that number and then give this number to that person. This person requests this thing, then you design this thing to look like this so it can communicate that to this person. There's certain blueprints and things that basically you can just follow and do and achieve. But when it comes to the actual socialization, the cliques, the things people talk about, the rhetoric, the diatribes, the kind of back and forths, the amount to actually have an actual conversation that's challenging and discuss something with somebody. Like, no, I can't offend this person. Just the whole being offended, just the insults that are being thrown around, the things that are being considered worth discussing. To me, that is really high school level. Like, I took some photographs of these recent things from CNN, and CNN has just, it's gotten much worse. I mean, since the 2016 when I started watching this thing and noticing some of these things it's gotten much worse. And yes, I do keep in mind that it is a business. They're trying to market certain things to certain people. They have certain demographics they're talking to. But if this is what they're saying, these are the headlines and some clips that they posted, what kind of demographics are they reaching out to? What is the mentality of the people that they're actually trying to actually get to listen to their material, to click their material? Because here are three of them. This is an image of CNN The Point. This is three things of Donald Trump in a golf swing or something. Then Donald Trump's single weirdest belief. President Donald Trump loves golf, but he does not believe something. Instead, the president, ... Why is this news? Why single weirdest belief? First of all, you can't literally mean that. He's got to have weirder beliefs than this. But this is like Donald Trump's single weirdest belief. Like, oh my God, that's the kind of discourse level that I'm getting from this. Chris Cuomo. He's Chris Cuomo. he's Chris Cuomo. If you've watched Chris Cuomo, you might know that I don't really have to say too much more about that. They have a screen cap of his face, his disbelief face, which I guess is his equivalent of the Tucker Carlson disbelief face, but he has this one. Cuomo on Trump's priorities. How does he have time for this BS? What BS? Did he say BS? Like, what kind of rhetoric is this? This is CNN. Does Chris Cuomo identify as a reporter, or does he just identify as an opinion gossip kind of person? Because time for this BS. Why do you, CNN, have time for that BS? If it is BS, why don't you just cover the real things that are supposed to be covered? And is this the high school type of environment? If you actually think there's actually more important material to be covered and to be discussed, if we are in the real world, Donald Trump is not our principal. We're not in some compulsory classroom reading from some compulsory, like, organized textbook. This is the material we have to learn. We have to be taught this. If you think Donald Trump is wasting time on things, you can get up and leave and turn it off. You don't have to sit in that classroom and listen to what the teacher is saying. You can get up and say, no, look, this is BS. Here is the real material. Here's the really good stuff we're supposed to actually be learning. So I don't understand why you have something like that, CNN. Now, the last one here is from Anderson Cooper. Cooper, Trump poses with can of beans while COVID-19... ... I don't want to click a thing. Again, Anderson Cooper's consternated looking face, and Donald Trump with his troll face, fingers up with the Goya beans thing. Because with the Goya beans situation, the guy came out and just mentioned some really basic things about the things that Trump has actually done that have actually helped his company or aided his company to continue working during this pandemic when there's been a lot of shutdowns, a lot of struggle for a lot of people. He talked about how he's donating all this food to actual pantries. But then people came around like, this guy likes Trump. We're going to actually not boycott beans and things like this. We're going to boycott Goya. So Trump has just taken some time to be like, look, this person said something positive. He's getting a backlash. I'm going to big up his produce. How much time did it take for Trump to actually do this? It's not like Trump was like, on the table on one side is actually do something that actually gives people back 100,000 jobs, or will create 100 million jobs and end half of the people who are going to get COVID or who have COVID, and somehow just clear that stuff out. Or I'm going to take time posing for this Goya Beans thing. So it's what is this option? It's like, no, this is a thing that he just did. This is a thing that he just did on the side. But why is this a thing that bothers them? And I was just thinking, CNN has become to the point where it's almost like some mean girls in high school. Some clique. They're not even like the most popular girls, because in most high schools, if you listen to the United States of America, this might be true all around the world. When you get enough people of that age group to a certain place, there's different strata, there's stratifications of different people with popularity groups. So in the United States of America, this is kind of what I was equating to what CNN has become. There's a school newspaper that already has news, but they no. This group of mean girls that are kind of sort of popular but not quite the most popular group, they kind of decided, let's start our like BuzzFeed type clickbait type of place where we just gossip and just tweet stuff out and write stuff out and just make these messages about these other people. Why are we doing this? Because there was this time when last year or earlier this year, whatever the thing in the school year, the most popular girl, the girl they think is the most popular girl in the school, or the greatest girl in the school, who only talks to these group of girls because this group, it could be some guys in there. There's this little clique of people. This supposed popular girl only speaks to them because this group sucks up to her, tells her everything she wants to hear. But she was running for class president, and while she was running for class president, she was like, "I deserve this. This is my calling. I'm supposed to get this. Like, I was dating the guy who was class president before, and then like you liked him enough, right? So now I'm that, and this guy I'm running against is an ass. He's not cool. Like, look at him. He's such an ass. Like, he hates all of you. But at the same point, like, if you like him, you are a garbage human being." So she did that during her campaign, and then she lost. And then now these girls who are like, I can't believe they didn't vote for her. She's the most amazing thing ever. Like, I can't believe they put this person in. Look at this jock who's in right now, who's saying all these things. And that's the level that they've just descended to. And they've just regressed. Because they weren't this bad 5 years ago. And I'm sure they weren't this bad 5 years ago. Because you even go back and you look, and there's people who just put clips of things like Don Lemon was saying 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago in some cases, versus what they're saying now. And there's just been a flip, and they must know something. You look around, you look at the cancel culture, you look at the people reading about things, you look at the way people just can't handle certain words, have certain expectations for things to be in certain ways, and you look at the socialization environment that they had in high schools, and that has indoctrinated people to think and be unable to actually deal and socialize with a certain way. So right now, with the changes that are going to happen with the schooling systems, I think it's going to be positive. There is going to be a transition. Right now, things are tied in. Society is tied into it. Parts of the way the job systems, people's works are, is because they have to actually be in certain locations. But a simple thing like, for example, some people look at the schooling system and say, look, we're going to have to go to a school that's in the actual location that we live in. But in order to afford to live in this location, we both have to work so we can actually afford the mortgage, afford the cost of food and electricity and amenities and things to actually live in this location. But that's okay because we're doing this to send our kid to this school that has these higher achievement levels and things like that. And then they'll think that. Or they'll think, oh, we have to send them to the actual university, and in order to do that, we need to get a job that we can get enough savings to spend $42,000 a year, like, or whatever it is with that kind of thing. So they'll be doing that. But now you rethink and you say, okay, now, if we have other ways to educate our kids, we might not have to spend that much. All we need to do is have a location where one of us can have 5 hours a day with our kid. Whether it's both of them at the same time, whether it's like 2.5 hours, so we're working two different jobs that have different schedules, but the location that we're living in doesn't cost that much because we can get this information online. And then you find other ways to socialize. People can socialize already online. There's social networks and things like this where people don't have to be there in person to directly socialize. Now, if you have situations where people have more time at home with their kids, you can organize smaller socialization groups where you have more of a decision. People are grouping together for similar interests, not just from arbitrarily living in a certain location and being around the same age. You have some times where somebody might be 20 and some other person might be 12, but they both have the same kind of interest in astronomy. And then now maybe these people happen to be living in an area where they're close to some kind of observatory. And then the people in the observatory just have some small courses where you come and you actually watch and you learn, and they teach you about what's happening out there with the things, and you can learn basic things to use it. Those two people might have time to actually go there and socialize in that sense. Now, that person who's in their 20s going in there might also have a kid, and then their kid might come, and their kid might be around the age of like the kids that are younger than other people, and those people are kind of sitting there. There's other ways to socialize, and there's other ways to actually communicate, and there's other ways to actually get better human information vectors to create these acquired ignorance destruction systems that we've been talking about. So this is going to happen. I think it's positive. Right now, it shouldn't surprise you. If you see the way kids are indoctrinated, you see the environments that they're raised in, it should not surprise you that these are the adults that are spat out from that system. After they've gone through that meat grinder of critical thinking and mentality, or and just ability to actually deal with things, it's not surprising to me. And I think it's going to be better for human flourishing that we get over this and find new ways and better ways of doing things and being able to just deal with society and reality. So that's it for now. Like, share, subscribe. Till next video. Appreciate you taking your time to listen to this. Let me know what you think about CNN and just regular level of indoctrination. Where do you think it's come from? Do you think people are just more weak? Do you think it's just a smaller group of people that have more access to information, that most people in general don't really get this negative effect that much? So let me know your thoughts on this. Till next time, goodbye.